And enough kibitzing, let's get started.
All right, all right. Good evening, and good afternoon, and good morning, and good evening to everybody out there in television land or YouTube land. So thanks for joining us. I'm telling you, the weather, I keep saying this every meeting, has been very cooperative, especially this winter. I think at the beginning of the month, there was some kind of ice storm, which we happened to miss because we were away. Um, but in any event, thanks for coming out tonight for the January meeting. So as usual, we'll go through our opening slides. I'll introduce Bhupendra, and then at the end of his presentation, we'll finish up with some of those slides at the end. Okay, so our usual agenda for those of you who may not know is we thank our sponsors, right? We appreciate their support for us. Talk about what's new, and it's not the usual, stuff that I've been doing the last couple months, maybe a little, but there's some actually new in the new. I'll introduce Bhupendra, and then at the end, we'll come back, we'll talk about what conferences are coming up. As you may know from one of my emails, the Art of AI conference, Venkat is going to run his raffle again this month, February and March, and the conference is in April. And there's also a discount. And then upcoming events for us, and then we'll talk about what some of our friends of the Garden State Jug are doing this month. All right, so first and foremost, our gold sponsor, Payara, we thank them. They have their platform, which includes Payara Server, Payara Micro. They also have Payara Cube, which is their cloud offering that offers Kubernetes support. So you don't actually have to know Kubernetes in order to do that, which is a cool thing. Their latest version 7 was finalized in December, so it has full Jakarta EE11 support. So check that out if you get a chance. It's payara.fish. Azul is our silver sponsor. They're the makers of Azul Zulu, their downstream distribution of OpenJDK. DevNexus, which is coming up in 2 months, they're our partner. So, and let's see. Yes, that was going to be yes. You beat me to it, Boris. Yep, that happened last month. I have a slide on that. So DevNexus is our partner. Our per meeting sponsors, Romanelli's, of course, provided the pizza tonight. JetBrains, of course, they make IntelliJ IDEA, WebStorm, PyCharm, all those IDEs for those languages out there. Jakarta EE, they provide hosting via Crowdcast for Java user groups for free, which is actually very nice. And of course, our memberships in the Jakarta EE ambassadors, the Jakarta EE working group, microprofile working group, and the virtual jug. All right, what's new? So you've been hearing about this from me for the last couple of months, but we've made some progress over the last couple of weeks. We are going to be in person on February 17th right here. And so far, we have special guests of Sharat Chander. Of course, he's head of DevRel over at Oracle. And Venkat Subramaniam, so definitely be here for this. Venkat is actually going to do a presentation at this event. We will probably have we'll have pizza as per normal, and we'll also have some cupcakes and hopefully some gifts. We're kind of working that out to give away to everybody to commemorate this event. So stay tuned for more on that. And then, as Boris mentioned, Azul purchased or acquired Payara last month. One of the Payarans said that they didn't see this coming. I think others may have known, but when Exxon and Mobil merged, back in 1999, everybody, there were a lot of leaks everywhere. From what I understand, and don't take this as gospel, but apparently the brands will remain the same. And of course, Azul, they specialize in OpenJDK. Payara specializes in Jakarta EE, and Payara has been using Azul along with other downstream distributions, so they've been partnered for a long time. All right, so Ramp down phase 2 is coming up later this week, and Jakarta or JDK 26 will be there. Those are the first 5 JEPs that'll be part of it, and these are the second 5 JEPs, so 10 altogether. Um, and then here's the release schedule, so March 17th, during Java 1, by the way. That's when JDK 26 will be released.
Michael, do you think that acquisition is going to affect our sponsorship or something?
To be honest, I don't know. I'm almost afraid to ask, but but yeah. So I really don't know how that's going to affect us. I think time will tell. So I met with Dominica back in September when we renewed for this year. So I'll probably see how things go. I'm sure everybody's scrambling to get to get everything together. But yeah, but that's a good question though. I don't know. So, JDK 27 has been in the works since, when is it? When they, this is a pattern. When you hit ramp down phase 1 for one JDK version, the expert group is announced for the one after that. So that's JDK 27. So actually yesterday, it was announced that JEP 527 is proposed to target for JDK 27. So the review is usually a week. So most likely it'll be targeted. So that's the first already, and that'll be out in September. Let's see. What else? Oh, Jakarta EE12. The only new thing there is milestone 2 is scheduled to be released later this month. We'll see. I think the whole holdup with the OSSRH for Maven Central, the new replacement for it, there's been some issues with that. So I think that's what's holding things up a little bit, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, finally. So let me read off my phone here. All right, so Bhupendra Mishra is a seasoned software engineer with nearly 20 years of experience building scalable systems across industries. He is currently a senior staff engineer at SiriusXM. He has led mobile development, system architecture, and microservice transformations. Bhupendra approaches each challenge with a blend of deep technical insight and a strong sense of purpose, always focused on building systems that stand the test of time. Bhupendra reached out to us a couple of months ago, so we really appreciate you coming to visit with us here. And without further ado, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, all right.
Thank you for the kind words. I don't know if I heard those in a long time. Just kidding. Okay. So let's see. Let's get started. And where was the present thingy? Come on. I think So good morning. I don't know if anyone is listening from the morning time zone, but good afternoon, good evening, wherever people are listening or watching. And thank you everyone here for coming. Although today is not as bad of a day, so 40s, mid-40s, I think it's good enough for the January for New Jersey. I guess December was more brutal this year than other years.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. So today I wanted to talk about somewhat less glamorous topic of a typical part of a software engineering, debugging. Mostly everyone talks about writing new code, building new systems, but no one talks about maintaining those systems or fixing issues or adding features. And the reason I say is this list is less glamorous because in general, before I dive in, let me ask you, how many of you are working on systems which are 10 plus years old? Some of you. And some of them might be working more than that, 20 years. Some might be working lesser, but at the end of the day, these are the systems which are running in production, getting or generating revenue for the companies. So they can't just hand it over to AI, say, hey, just take it over, and all engineers, I don't need them. We know we still need them. So that's where the debugging skill comes in. And importantly, we need to partner with AI to make sure we are able to move fast to fix those bugs, to solve the problems which are being reported. And that's where all this talk comes in. So the first question I typically or anyone asks is, if AI can write the code, why do we still need debugging? Yeah, I mean, AI can do the whole thing. So my take is, what my limited experience with the AI is, that if you give it the whole your millions lines of code and hundreds of files, it will be confused. It has no idea what it's going to do, and it will suggest things that everything will code will look beautiful, everything's fine, but things may not work as it worked before that. So that's why we still need human in the middle to complete that loop of making sure that whatever the changes are proposed by AI system or the Gen AI tool are working seamlessly. So just quick overview on agenda, why debugging matters, how we can develop a debugging mindset, the core debugging techniques, various tools, some of case studies from my own experience, and then whatever the actionable principle, we can take it from here. So now let's take a look into the first part. As of today, all these production systems which I'm referring to, which I'm working on, or anyone you are working on, they are mostly handwritten code. But at the same time, we are also using AI tools to write some of the, let's say, bug fixes, some of the new features. So when we are partnering with AI, if you just give an input that, hey, I want to solve this problem, it will generate 10 to 100 lines of code, and you can just put it in the your Java file, let's say. It may or may not work. So someone can say that it's the same as joining a new team or copying code from the Stack Overflow. But the difference is Stack Overflow usually provided a small snippets, a part of it, and then we still validated because we did not trust them. With AI in the middle, we are starting to trust them without making sure that it is actually doing what it's supposed to do. So that's where this we have to do that. Uh, in general, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or GitHub Copilot, they all can read the Java files and they can write solutions, but we just still need to make sure that those changes are valid. They are not going to cause any harm to the existing workflow, or they are not causing any security or vulnerability issues. So obviously, it's again part of the challenge as well. That are we going to can we completely trust the AI generated code? I don't remember if Venkat said this or I read it somewhere, but it's something like it's like that. Human usually write a bad code. This Gen AI was trained on this bad code, so now AI is producing bad code. It's all because we wrote that code. So it's learned from that. So if it's producing bad code, it's partly us to blame. But that's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, whether it's a messy code or inefficient workflow, they have been working fine for the most part. And most of the software development starts with good intention, but over the years, it gets polluted because of the workflow gets messy. Sometimes we need to take shortcut because we don't have enough time to do the right way. So all those things come in the picture. So if we are completely trusting the AI, that means we are not checking if they are hallucinating. I have seen it generate or propose me a random library which doesn't even exist. Surely those can be easily caught, but at the some cases which cannot be caught unless we go and introspect those changes. So, so then mostly most of the systems these days are microservices or distributed systems. So these complexity is increasing because there if we are interacting with 5 different microservices, problem could be lying in any one of them, or it could be in the third party library, or if we are you also using LLM, the LLM itself may have some hidden bug because how it was trained. So at the end of the day, these the LLMs are all about training. How we train them, they will respond based on that. So if you train them in the subset of the data, they will respond on that subset. They will not know the rest of the context. So, so now this is my personal philosophy that debugging is not exactly fixing, and what exactly it mean is debugging should be a data driven approach. You need to understand what a user is trying to do, not just look into a null pointer exception and think, hey, let me just go and add a null pointer check here. While it may be the final fix, but understanding that why that happened, why it failed, that particular API gave a bad response, is understanding depends on the understanding the context, depending on the use case, depending on the boundary condition, uh, making sure that the assumptions which we started with to call that method or the API still stands valid. If something has changed, then either the fix might be in the prior method or the caller to do a check and then take the next action. And similarly, yeah, we have to spend enough time to analyze the actual root cause and before we apply this fix. So once we know the root cause of the problem, once we have identified that the system failed because of let's say this missing data from the provided by the third party, then rather than doing check here, we may be able to work with the third party API to make sure our contracts are more strong than what we have today. If it's outside, sure, it may not be able to possible, but if it's within a systems, we can just enforce those constraints that, hey, provide us the valid data because this has been our contract. This is the agreement. Now let's look into how we want to think as a debugger. So to me, the core data is still essential because if we don't understand the core data structure, whether it is a memory allocation, whether it is a list or set, or yeah, in C world the pointers or any of these things, we need to still understand. A simplest example is if AI generated code gives us a stream and we are not familiar with the stream, we have to go and read that why how it stream works, whether it's the same as a for loops or it might be different. So based on the type of stream we are using. So understanding those basics, the data structure basics is still essential. So and stay curious whenever there is a unfamiliar syntax, whether again going back to Java streams or Java lambdas. If someone is if you're coming from the old style of code writing, then it's better to just familiarize yourself with the new set of let's say these APIs, the libraries, or the code structure which is being used rather than still relying on the old. Sometimes new data structure also adds up or gives immutable data structures as a result. So understanding that in an object-oriented programming, if you are mixing those immutable data structures, that might also give another set of problems. So going and looking into each of these code and analyzing one by one gives us a better understanding how exactly this code should behave. And uh, also asking the right questions, that okay, what has changed. So let's say we can say that this has been working fine, now what changed. So whether the input change, whether the we have upgraded the library, so that library started misbehaving, or sometimes it could be caused by outage in the network or the network slowness. So any of those things can cause a bug in the system, and we have to go and look into it as a holistically, than just narrowly thinking that okay, just one line fix is enough to solve the problem. So what I think, in my opinion, Gen AI's role is we should treat them as a partner and not uh, uh, like someone who just tells us what to do and we just copy paste the code and think that this is done. No, we can use them as a multiplier, that okay, this is the problem I'm trying to solve, this is the issue I'm seeing, this is the context, and give it and work on the hypothesis that okay, what could be causing this problem, work on do bounce back the ideas back and forth, use as a partner that okay, what is going on, and then use it for the exploration of the use scenarios that when that can happen. So that's how we can use it. It can also explain the errors, given that it is trained in the vast amount of knowledge from the obviously internet. It usually have a good idea that what could be causing it, so it can explain the error message. Let's say if it's a exception, and the stack overflow stack might be, or exception stack is 20 lines, we can point you to the right to the place where exactly is causing the problem based on your code. So use those to get the ideas and how to solve the problem here. And obviously always verify the code, whatever was suggested before you apply into it, and at least make sure you understand it correctly. Now, I'm just going back. What are the typical traditional debugging techniques? And this one has been my favorite, rubber duck debugging. Anyone familiar of this? Okay. So I think this was introduced in the 99 or sometime when, yeah, or maybe early's by in the pragmatic programmer book. So what exactly this mean is, explain your code, explain your hypothesis or your assumptions loud out to a duck. And when you are verbalizing your thought process, it gives you better clarity. It makes you slow down and think about your assumptions, your scenarios. And when you are reading it out loud, you will see that some of this is not aligning with the code. And half of the work is already done. You already know that when you are explaining it, that something is not adding up. And funny thing is, yeah, I did that for a while. When my daughter was young, until she started hitting keyboard, I will explain that problem to her because I did not have a rubber duck. So I will explain her the problem while I'm just just yeah speaking out loud that this is my assumption. So this is has been a really useful, because debugging is about thinking. It's rationalizing, it's justifying your code, your assumptions, and making sure that it follows the use case or the business rules given versus the assumptions you have in your code. The next important thing is instrumentation. So instrumentation cannot be understated, because in this current era where distributed systems are common, without logging and without having enough telemetry, it's almost like flying blind and into this massive logs, figuring out what is failing, why it is failing, what is the frequency it's failing with, what are the pattern if there are anything. So having these logs where we can feed them to a telemetry system, we can measure them, we can monitor their patterns, and also this most of the new tools, whether it's a Datadog or Kibana or any other open telemetry tool, this gives us a nice visualization how our systems are, our endpoints are behaving. What are the, let's say, P95 or P90 performance for the request. So it gives us a nice information. It also, with the new AI in the middle, they also started predicting, and they also started giving additional forecasting that, hey, these are the pattern we are seeing, so maybe look into what could be going wrong in your system. So they are also improving with time. And for the logging, I personally also prefer using, let's say, gated logging, because in some of the cases when we may need to, let's say, gather additional logging or excessive logging from the production environment, but we don't want to add that logging for, let's say, everything or every, otherwise our logs will become huge. So in those cases, have a, let's say, feature flag or some kind of control which can manage how much code should be written for what kind of clients, for what particular devices, depending on your clients. So having those logs will also give us enough information. So for example, sometimes when we see an issue, when, let's say, some client says that they are not able to tune to music, or they are seeing some problem, we have these device or radio IDs embedded into our production list of system for enhanced logging, what we call it. And then it will give us the everything, including from headers, from the cookies, and whatever the system sent them back and forth. So in that way, we get the clear picture rather than just trying to reproduce in our lower environment, because some of the problems are seen in the higher environment mostly, or in the production, because when the load is high, systems behave differently when the load is low. Now, coming back to Gen AI or ChatGPT, so I'll be a bit specific because our sorry, go ahead.
Um, I'm going back one screen.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about gated logging.
Uh-huh.
And, I'm using a tool called JHipster.
Okay.
Out of the box, it builds you a screen.
Uh-huh.
You can just click, I want to log this class and this class. I want to set them to info rather, or debug rather than info,
Okay.
or web.
Uh-huh.
And, but how do you implement a feature flag? I mean, and that's a class by class basis, not a feature flag. That's a class flag for turning on, logging on and off. How are you doing that with feature flags?
So, so in our case, what we are doing is, so let's say, first of all, we have a log4j. So log4j with the class level logging, we have that. And we are also using the, mm, let's say, Lua. So that's an old Nginx. Lua is another programming language, and that's where we are using with the Nginx proxy. So that Nginx proxy, in the Lua code, we have provided this. Okay, I'll take into account of this, let's say, additional file where we have a list of hardware IDs, and then also look into the configuration file for log4j. So it collates between those two, and based on that, it does this additional filtering. So it's a it's a very specific implementation in our case. That's how we are doing it. But if I were to think that how it can be done on a generic level, I will say, uh, if you want to enable on the class level, at the end of the day, it's going to go back into these configuration files, because that's where you can define what all classes you want. And
I can do it online without a configuration configuration file,
Okay,
but I can only do it by class.
by class. You can't do, but so you want to enable it for the whole.
I like the idea of
Mhm.
feature flags for logging, but I have no clue how to
So
implement that.
okay, so feature flag for logging will more or less will look like into how you do in general. For example, you go in your code. So in your code, you will use this feature flag. So typically, there are two ways of doing feature flag. Either you use third-party library, or you use your own feature flag. So when I say feature flag, let's say there's a configuration file which says enable enhanced logging true or false, right? And in each log line, you check, is that flag enabled? Log this additional information. So it will log additional verbose information. So
Okay, my assumption on what you mean
Mhm.
by a feature flag
Uh,
is I have 100 classes,
okay.
and within those 100 classes, I might have 5 features,
Mhm.
and I want to be able to turn on logging for just one of those features. And
So-
and you mentioned third-party tools, but you didn't say which ones, and again, I have no clue how to implement a feature flag.
I'm trying to recall the name because I briefly used it. I mean, this piece of, yeah, with this service, we only use a small one. I mean, we have a custom one. I'm trying to recall what are the feature flag. Yeah, my memory is
Okay.
failing me here.
You just AI it.
We've been using a system called Launch Darkly.
Launch darkly. That's what.
For official flags. Very good.
Launch darkly.
Say again?
Launch Darkly.
Launch
Launch
Darkly.
darkly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cool.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So now, yeah, let's coming back to AI. So to me, AI is my digital rubber duck. Why I would say that? Because when I'm explaining a problem to, let's say, ChatGPT, I'm setting uh, context to it. I am giving it enough information to know that what is the problem I'm trying to solve. Not just trying to be generic or giving vague about the problem I'm trying to solve, but importantly, providing it the context that which is valid for the problem I'm solving, and all the assumptions. So in that way, it knows enough that can help me suggest the right solution rather than just spitting out some generic ways to solve the problem. So, and it will also and starts with writing effective prompts. So when I say effective prompt, rather than just saying that, okay, I am seeing this problem, you be specific that, okay, you are trying to solve a problem in Java, and this is the version of Java you are using. Your service is using a Spring framework, or using this version of this library, and then it knows based on the all that information that how it can suggest a solution which works fine. And in general, I still use IDE debugger. So whenever there's a problem, if it can be reproduce it in a local environment, then IDE debuggers are very essential. You put a breakpoint, you take the request from the production, let's say, and apply it in your local, see if you are able to see the reproduce the problem locally. Because if we are able to reproduce the problem, it's almost like hitting a gold mine in the debugging world, because it's easier to fight and fix a problem which is consistently reproducible than which just appears out of nowhere, because those are the most tricky ones to solve. And similarly, we can use Charles proxy to capture the traffic which flows between microservices or which goes to the third party APIs. So that enables us that. Postman can help debugging various APIs. and we can also create the collections, we can automate them. So in this way it will automatically run it on a script, and then it can essentially behave exactly like a client, which might be firing queries every couple of seconds, or based on a particular pattern. So we can automate all that. And then obviously Datadog and APM tool, they provide a valuable insight that how system is behaving in general, what's going on the performance side, and all those things. Okay, so I thought, yeah, I will share this personal experience which recently I had. So we had this one system which was built probably 10 years plus back. Very basic system, a basic code base. Its primary job was to generate POJOs using XML and XSDs, and it was written using Java 8. System is stable, no problem at all. It's all working fine. But we thought, okay, let's give it a makeover. Let's make it upgrade it to Java 17. So upgrading to Java 17, the Java part was relatively straightforward, not much challenges. I was able to manage it. But when I integrated it with the whole ecosystem, I saw the failures. And the failures were the POJOs which were generated with the XSD2, they were not Java 17 compliant because of all the annotations it had and other problems. So the marshalling of the objects started failing. So now I felt, okay, let's go back to our friend ChatGPT. And so I started experimenting that, or going explaining the problem, what is going on, how I can solve it. It has like 3 or 4 different solutions which it kept suggesting, oh, try this, try this, try this. And it kept going on loops. I think I spent somewhere around a week, and then I'm like, I'm done. I'm going old school. So went back to the typical our looking into the documentation of the JAXB. And the main challenge was, yeah, JAXB was yeah, no, not part of the JDK anymore. Now it's moved to Jakarta, so have to go into their documentation, and from 2 to 3, and also do our old school Stack Overflow, figure out something. And the problem was relatively small. So with the JXB3, we had these package structures. So there were like multiple folders. Each folder corresponds to a package set of XML files there. And when JXB2 generated POJOs, it just ran through all of those packages without worrying what's there in the target directory, because what has already been generated. Versus JXB3, once it's generated for one package, is like, okay, I'm done. So it won't generate for the rest of the package. So that was another problem which I experienced. What was it?
Have you tried Open Rewrite?
Open Rewrite? No, I've not.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question, but it's by Modern, and they use these intermediate trees to do the conversion from
Maybe
now.
like recipes or something.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I'll take a note of that.
yeah, it's apparently a lot of people are using it, you know, for this exact purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I think it relies on AI internally somehow, but I'm not sure.
I've never used it, so yeah, I can't
I've
speak
not
from
used it
experience.
either, but I've heard about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jonathan Schneider was here 2 years ago, I think, or 3 years ago. I forget which. Yeah.
It's been that long?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was
Wow.
2023. Yeah. I have to look it up.
So yeah, so again, going back to the old school helped me, and I was able to obviously solve the problem, and after that everything worked fine. But what I really learned is that yes, it AI is ChatGPT is not infallible. It will make mistakes. It will suggest something which doesn't work. At the end of the day, it's my job to make sure that it works fine. Whatever code. So what is it?
It gets about 80% there.
Yeah. So
My experience is that ChatGPT is not one of the better models for coding. Claude is much
Claude
better.
is much better, yes. So the thing is, again, I guess each organization is different. For us, I think our companies are still evaluating which one to buy, because at the end of this, a lot of money, and there's so much budget, so they figure out which one makes more sense. And then also data has to be retained within the boundaries of the organization. It cannot go out, so that's another challenge.
Gemini?
Mm.
Okay.
Google Gemini.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, that was a time when ChatGPT did not help me much, but the other case when it really expedite my problem or problem solving. So in this case, we were just moving or migrating our cookies, which where we have storing our device tokens, to Redis. So we designed the system, made the necessary changes, and tokens were being stored in the Redis, so there was no more cookies related to that, and it worked fine in the production, or sorry, in the lower environment. As soon as we put the release build into production, we did expect that our Redis space usage will increase significantly for a day. But once it has all the tokens for number of typical active users, then it will be somewhat plateau, it will stabilize. But no, that did not happen. It kept growing. And then obviously at the point when it's almost hit 80%, and our Redis rebalance itself, and then we had to revert the code, then flush the Redis to make sure that system gets stabilized. So we did that, and as a postmortem, we started figuring out, okay, what went wrong, what did we miss, and so this time I took the patches from our PR files. There were like multiple patches or multiple changes, the environment configurations for each from the production, and fed it to the ChatGPT. Interestingly, when I explained the whole problem, the solution came in within 20 minutes. Reason being, it was a silliest mistake one can make. Uh, earlier we used milliseconds to store the cookies TTL, and we use same milliseconds to store the Redis TTL, which was in days. So now you can imagine the cookie, the token, which should only last 12 hours, is living millions. And given that it's tied to a session, the client is losing session key after session restarts, so it kept adding. So obviously adding the fix is simpler, just fix the TTL, but that's when it yeah, helped me really figure out the solution faster, because there were so many changes. It was easy for us as a team to overlook that there is a minor problem in the code, but once we gave it to the AI, it's looking from all the angles, and yeah, it just it, it was uh, brutal fast to get that answer that you made the silliest mistake. So yeah, so I wouldn't say I pasted the code, but yeah, patch files. So yes, we did upload the PR differences, that hey, these are the differences with respect to the code changes we have made. Yeah, it figured it out, yes. No, because our code was not as bad. For example, in the case, our method name itself, hey, give me time in milliseconds, and now the other says, hey, give me data in days. So there was enough pointers. It's just that, yeah, we missed it as a human or as a PR reviewers. I'm sure it can. It's already happening. So, for example, we already have a couple of bots integrated with the PR. Again, I don't really know the name of all of them, to be honest, because that's managed by our DevOps and the infra team. But it it suggests pretty good comments, whether it's about practice, whether it will create your workflow, that what all change. It will create the PR summary, that this all has been already, this has changed. It will give a nice visual, let's say that okay, you are upgrading from library X from 2.0 to 3.0. So it gives a nice view. And then based on the code guru and the few other plugins, it will suggest that hey, this code is not good, you should add this additional boundary. So it already does that. So so in general, I think I like to call them the guiding principles, that to me treat debugging as a systematic data driven approach, not just applying a band-aid when something breaks. uh, Leverage AI, not to explore the solutions, explore the use cases when it might be happening, and then not just replace the judgment. Always select the right tool for the problem you are solving, and if we can isolate and reproduce it in a lower environment, that's perfect. That will find the real solution faster than the general cases. And then obviously telemetry, so log, measure, monitor. So these things are very necessary to see the overall health and the picture of the system, because sometimes problem could be uh, because of the system is constrained, you are running out of thread, you are running out of memory. Now it's failing, it's not really the code, because we did not uh, design system in a way which can take the load of those many requests coming in.
Ever tried to like analyze that dump or hit dump with AI?
So
I have done that. Yeah? Yeah. With success? Yeah, but I can't remember where was it done. But yes.
so,
Oh, oh, wait.
so say again.
Yeah, so like about bugging, like in AI the certain kind of inputs, right? So one thing I feel, as compared to coding with AI, debugging with AI present a challenge where to debug you have many types of inputs. Like, let's say you have logs, you have metrics, you have graph, there's maybe some upstream like maybe like UI with web UI, some API. So for writing code, normally I only provide our requirements, our like I'll say maybe some like example inputs. That's it. But for debugging, so many different type of inputs. That I feel is a new challenge to use debug.
Right.
Is there any way you can recommend?
So, see, that's where I think you need to have a workflow. So when I say workflow, so let's say in a typical case, if you have a telemetry tool, it tells you that this endpoint is failing 20% of the time. So now you have one data point that okay, this endpoint is failing. So now you, let's say it's a authorization endpoint. So now you go and look, trace the authorization endpoint workflow. It goes from microservice 1 to 2 and let's say to the 3, and then goes to the IDM system. And now first of all you have established the chain. Now if you have designed the services correctly, and you have, let's say, correlation ID which can track, and you always have a sample of the logs going into the telemetry system, so they will point you that actual failure happened in the system, let's say 3. Now you know that problem is in system 3, but it's not necessarily, it could be a problem, it could be problem at the IDM system or system 4, but system 3 is failing because something either incorrect data came in, or something went wrong. So at that point, if you have enough logging, or if you can capture the um, uh, rest call, then at that point you can try to reproduce the problem in that system itself and see how that behaves.
Gentleman's example, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I have a dump file or
Yep.
some kind of like a log file. One of the challenges in this case is like the dump file or log file could be large.
Yep.
And given the current kind of technology, the context window normally, at least for my use, is around 200K or 500K
Mm-hmm.
bytes.
Yep.
So that's several megabytes, even several megabytes of log file or dump file
Mm-hmm.
easily overfill the context window.
Right.
So that presents like in my case, I need to do some manual pre-processing to reduce the log file or dump file into a kind of small size in order to feed the AI. But I cannot like let AI take the raw thing, and so that's a challenge.
I mean, I don't know if it's a challenge or it's a part of process because so there are two possibilities. Either you give the full control to AI and which is AI manages things, or if you are managing the system, then as you said, the context window or sometimes the limit on the tokens, because for example, if I have a class file which is 10,000 lines long, if I try to give the whole file to read it, it's going to take so many tokens. My leaders will come and say, hey, what are you doing? But we are paying you if you have to feed everything to the AI. So that's why you have to use your own due diligence to figure out, at least start with one point that, okay, let's, or at least isolate it or narrow it down. Once you have narrowed it down, you can feed that amount of traces and see if it can suggest something, or maybe suggest that class or that method. But if you are trying to give the whole, I don't know, I've not done it. Honestly, I've not done it. Because I'm always trying to be the as close as possible to the bug and then take it from there. What
do you all use?
ID?
Editor.
You said ID, right?
IDE.
Yeah, I use IntelliJ.
And especially if you're doing an upgrade on code that's 10 years old, almost all the code I look at that was written by anybody else, I don't like it.
That's the reality with everyone.
Well, my question is, do people use AI to make the code conform to a standard that the company may have to clean it up, or no?
So it depends how you want to say the code cleanup. So for example, if I approach it when I'm working on a piece of code, I will try to clean it up in a way which doesn't break any existing contracts. Reason being, if the system has evolved over 5-10 years, it has a lot of embedded business logic. I can't just get rid of without really knowing it. So in just to make the code clean, I wouldn't touch it. I will only touch it when I'm working on it. I have more control. I know that what I'm doing at that time, I will make it better. And just to from the look and feel point of view, there are a lot of plugins which ID provides. You can just apply them and it will make them look nice. But if you really want to refactor, at that time you have to be cognizant about it, what you are doing.
So if it works, don't mess with it.
Don't mess with it, exactly. That's a rule of thumb. At least I follow. Yeah. I was thinking if I can quickly show a small workflow or uh, Charles log. How do I capture Charles? So let's see if it works. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this tool. So, okay. So
Since you use IntelliJ, have you tried Junie?
Junie?
Junie within
With
IntelliJ?
the
Yeah, yeah.
Genie, I have not tried it yet.
Okay, yeah.
But
It's much easier to have the the AI within the IDE.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. This is my personal laptop. So here I can do whatever I like. In again organizational, I cannot. So whatever is so for example, for us they have provided us a tool called Light LLM. Using Light LLM and I think it's a codex models. I'm able to use same more or less same way as integrated. But again, the problem is as soon as the context windows go beyond few files, it blows up. Okay, so it is doing my whole macOS proxy, and I don't want to stop recording. Why it's doing macOS proxy? Why? Don't do that. Okay, don't do that. macOS proxy, clean it. So now let's see. So where was my OMDB client? Okay. So this is a simplest code. I have a typical microservice, Spring Boot, mm, and the controller service and everything. This goes to a third party called OMDB and gets the data about movie, uh, same as IMDb but open source. And then we just want to see, let's say, how our service is behaving. So if I run my test case, let's say real API call, let's make it see if it works, and it captures it. Okay, so now if you see, it's capturing all the network traffic. So as a, so I forgot your name, but you are saying that how we can pinpoint. So this is the tool or this is a process I use. So for example, if I have found that the problem exists in the service 3, at service 3, I can take the request, call it from that point and see how it behaves in the backend. So in
Still a manual process.
it's a manual,
This,
yes.
right?
It's a manual process. I'm just using tools to make it better rather than using curl and rebuild the scripts. I'm just using my tool ID and this extra additional tool.
But is it possible you create an MCP server that the AI can just do the same manual process you do?
I have not explored about MCP server, but possibly yes. Yeah, I'm not as up to date with all the new offerings with the AI, so yeah, I'm yet to catch up over there. Okay, so if you notice, right, this is a simple example. There's nothing fancy. It's just calling OMDB API, getting the response. If you see the content, okay, it has all the basic payload. So at this point, we can go back and look into what was the response came in, what is the request. Now, in this particular request, I don't have any other headers or cookies, but that typically happens with the backend system. You will be passing headers, cookies, tokens, all those things. So, and sometimes they could be causing the problem. So having this tool with, we can differentiate what is what we can solve. One of the project I'm working on right now is trying to take the this Charles log, convert it into a format which is easier for um, ChatGPT to understand. So for example, I know that this is the endpoint, this is the query parameters needs to be passed in, these are the headers, these are the tokens, and based on that, this is the response I received. So tomorrow if I see a problem in the production, I can just pass it the request and tell it, do you think there is anything wrong with this request, or the response we received is not correct? So again, this is a little bit custom because if you feed the whole Charles JSON, I don't think at least ChatGPT or Gemini, as far as I'm told, is not capable of parsing and making sense out of it. So if you just do a little parsing and feed it, then it will be better. Yeah. Now, for example, this Charles also provides a very nice way of throttling. So for example, if you are seeing a problem that 20% of requests are failing in the backend and 80% are fine. So at that time, if you want to investigate the behavior of your system, that how system behaves when 20% request fails, maybe it's a circuit breaker is tripping, maybe it's a the thread uh, is stuck because it's blocked. So to investigate those issues, we can reproduce these with these tools. So for example, if I say I want to throttle this and unstable, I think, yep, I want to start 1070, done, and enable throttling, done. And I just clear this Charles, and we have to wait. Okay, so now if you see, some of the requests are failing because network is behaving like a real network. Yeah, some, yep, because that's what happens when in the real life scenarios where if the network is down or it's overloaded, some of the requests it may not be able to process. So at this point, we can go and look into our code, how that particular API which expected the response, how behaved. So it's easier to do test and validate when we have a more control, when we don't have to look in 5 different systems that what point this is causing the problem here. Okay, so this was a one of the example where we were able to see. So I think that some of them failed. Again, I did not notice the percentage, but I think it may have some percentage in the test cases. Yeah. So 86 failed, passed, remaining failed. So So that was one of the tool, and now let's say if I want to disable this for now, route planner, I don't want it, and I wanted to, where's the Charles? Let's get rid of this guy, Charles, and let's start the Claude. Let's see. Okay, so where was that? Class OMDB test. So in this particular test case, it's going to test one of the API, which is calling it, and it's mapping it by their IMDb rating. And intentionally, I obviously have left a bug in the code. So let's see how this behaves. Okay, right now I'm not using Charles Proxy because we have already seen it, how it works, how it can help us to debug issue faster. But this case, I'm hoping I can help us find the bug and explain the problem, and then use the AI to see if what kind of solution it proposes to solve the problem. Okay, so now if you see in the my logs here, so let me quickly see the code here. 1DB service. Has to be in this service. I think it was there. Where did it go? Come on. Here. Oh, yeah. Now map to move it here. Yeah, that's a code. So this is the code. Actually, this is what it's mapping into a category. So I just gave a random that, okay, if any movie with IMDb rating 9 is a masterpiece, greater than 8, less than 9, IMDb rating great, and all this basic thing. And now if we see the log failure, which tells us that it failed because where was the run window? Where did it go? Come on. Yes. That this particular movie, which is Avenger, it has a rating 8.0, and it should not be better. It should be better. So now I'm using here Claude, and I'm asking it to ChatGPT. Oh, sorry. In this case, Claude. That what is going on with. Okay. I am trying to. I'm seeing no. I'm seeing a problem with this is in the movie service class. Yep, movie service class API movie with rating. Ouch. Yeah. Come on. It is not grouped correctly. Was that?
What the movie was?
I mean, I can tell it, but in this case, I just want because it can happen with any other movie, right? And this was my just test case. So I've not run the test case with the Claude, so it does not have that context yet. If I had run with the test case, then it will know that okay, I ran the with this move. Great. Okay. Now it's asking me whether it's moving, whether it's by genre or by tier. So I'll say it is by map movies by rating tier. Okay, and also it's asking the same the detailed question that okay, if it's a rating issue, should rating be exactly 8 is in the great or good tier? Now it's for me to decide which tier I want to put in, and then it will apply the fix. So it says that okay, movie with rating 8 does not match here and here. That's why it goes there. So in this case, let me fix this by adjusting the boundary when to use equal operator and then update. So yep, I'll say okay, just go ahead and update it. So now it will update it. So this is a way, one way to leverage ChatGPT or whichever codex or a cloud in this case to solve the problem. Now I know this is a small file, I could have just fed the whole file, but when it's a big file which is thousands lines of code, it's not going to be as simple. So that's when I just feed it necessary information, just take that, or sometimes just paste that code and solve the problem from there.
This being a programming
Mm-hmm.
trick I learned a long time ago is greater than is a lot faster than greater or equal to. Like it's when it gets compiled, it's
Right.
like 2 assembler steps or something. So especially if you have big stuff, big data,
Mm-hmm.
I always would make it greater than. I'd never use greater or equal to. I always pick a number.
I see.
8.1
Okay,
or
got it.
something for speed.
Interesting.
And if you're doing that, you count down from 10 to 0 rather than 0 to 10.
Well, you could do greater or less, it doesn't matter.
No, comparing against 0 is faster.
I'm not following, Rick.
I'm sorry. If you're that concerned with performance.
Well, you're concerned if you have thousands of records
Yeah.
that you're trying to do it with.
Okay, so I think this one, yeah, now this code has already fixed itself. So I'll say, yeah, run the test. If I run this now, let's say it should now not complain, and Avenger should not go into math tier. It should be in a good tier.
Kendra, I want to say your code is beautiful. I have no problem.
I wish I can say this is the production code.
So you know what I was talking about before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my out of my almost like 20 years of software engineering life, I've only worked maybe 4 or 5 years in a greenfield project where I really did something from the ground up. Otherwise, the rest of it has been, yeah, maintaining, modernizing these existing systems. So I don't know if I'm outlier here, but that's what has been for me. Yep.
That's a really good demo, by the way. So I have a question about like from high level. It's like let's say if we have a AI integrated into a debugging system, right? If something goes wrong, let's say we have a ticket, something went wrong, right? If all we need to do is like give that ticket number to AI, and it's able to figure out everything, input where to get screen capture, anything, and give us the root cause, would that be considered a good system or not?
So first of all, define good system. I mean, it's a good workflow because you are able to solve the bug faster. So definitely it's a very good and efficient workflow as long as the problem it is solving is accurate, same as a, let's say, human accuracy level, and it's not hallucinating, then to me, why not? Yeah.
Building that kind of system should be our goal. So like, as per, let's say if I have a like another system where humans still do some of the, let's say, preparation or like a pre-processing, kind of feed the from different source, like would aiming for the first one or aiming for the second one, how say be the goal at current. The one of the reason I bring this question is like when we were talking about dumping the whole file right into AI, it's too large. But one of I think in one of the interview, I think someone from Cloud Code said the context window is growing about 30 to 50 times per year on a yearly basis, right? So maybe something right now is not even possible. Dumping a 2G file to AI is not possible, but maybe 2 years later, it's totally doable, right? So if we are developing a system right now in order to do the all pre-processing, all this connect all the things, maybe not valuable down the line, very shortly.
So to me, if context window grows that much, so in other words, system or the LLM is able to practically ingest the whole code itself. So if it's able to ingest the whole code, then at that point, surely giving it that log file may make sense because it knows everything. But until then, yes, humans will be in the loop. They'll be in the middle to give the to figure out what is the fastest way to solve that problem, or the like with the isolating, taking that smallest or the possible code and working on that. Or, yep.
Comment on that. In my little world, they charge for bandwidth, how much you
Yeah.
consume. So 2 gig is more expensive than 200K.
Yeah, exactly.
By a factor of 10.
The good news on that is like the cost of AI computation is getting much cheaper, even more, probably more than 50 times per year.
For sure. Yeah, so I think that's the thing I had for the demo and everything. I think I'll simply end with this note that at least I personally believe in that in the Gen AI era, until the Gen AI completely takes over our system, debugging and problem solving is still our superpower as a software engineer. We can continue, obviously leveraging the Gen AI is one thing, but at the same time, yes, we can definitely learn faster and build things faster. So that's my take. Thank you.
Okay, I just asked if there were any questions out on YouTube land. So we'll take a look at that. Any additional questions? This was great discussion, by the way. Thank you for everybody who participated. But any other questions from here? No? Okay. All right, let me see if anybody responded here. Not yet. So, you got the chat open too? On your end, Barry? Yeah. Like, can we go back to my slides then?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Should still be there. Yep.
This was awesome, by the way.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Yeah, so as those of you who may know, I write for InfoQ, and part of what I do is review technical articles from external authors, and it's something that InfoQ encourages to do. By the way, if anybody's interested in doing that, one of the challenges with the emergence of AI is finding content that was generated with AI. I'll double check it, but I think InfoQ policy is that yes, you can use AI, but you should still, human, should interact with that output that's generated, from that. And I believe there's a disclosure that should be added to, the news item or something like this. So we have an editors meeting on Monday. I'll try to get clarification, but. On one of the QCon AI New York last month, there was, in the abstract of most of the talks, it said this is the AI-generated part of the description for the abstract, and then there was the part from the actual presenter. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But trying to find content that's generated by AI is, it's kind of difficult. You gotta get an eye for it. But yeah, so that's been something that I've had to deal with, and I think I looked for it so much in one particular technical article that I totally missed something technically wrong with it, and we published it, and 3 days later we had to pull it. So that was a bad experience for me. But in any event, yes. So it is interesting. I've used Gemini for generating images, for example, and so that's been kind of fun. So, but in any event, I'm just an old man rambling here. So let's finish up for tonight. Upcoming events. The next one is the J Champions Conference. It's 4 days, as you can see, on the 22nd and 23rd, and the 26th and 27th. This is a conference created by Java champions, delivered by Java champions, but it's open to everybody. And over the years, I've either delivered a presentation or I've moderated. And Barry, you're on the committee, I think.
Not this year.
Not this year. You're involved in some way, though.
I'm giving a talk.
That's right. So yeah, I decided to moderate a number of talks this time. So yeah, so that's fun. So take a look at that. It's like from 9 to 3 every day, something to that effect. So good stuff. QCon London is in the same week as Java 1. And I thought I had DevNexus in there. I might be out of order. But anyway, it's in London, England. And if you're interested in attending this conference, I was there last year. I'll be there again. I walk past Parliament every day. That was kind of neat. So anyway, so that's happening. Then there's DevNexus. It's out of order, actually. There's Java 1. Again, Barry is giving a talk, I believe.
Yes, indeed.
So unfortunately, I cannot go to Java 1 since I'll be in London. So anyway, so there is a $50 discount code for Java 1. The early registration ends on February 9th. So if you're interested in going out to Redwood Shores, it's about maybe 20 miles south of San Francisco, and it's in an Oracle campus. DevNexus is March 4th through 6th at the usual place, the Georgia World Congress Center. And there'll be the Java Champion and Java User Group Leader Summits and 2 days of talks and workshops. I need to reach out to Vince or Pratik. I think we'll have to ask for a discount for us. Oh yeah, and Art of AI, I may have touched on this earlier. We can use this discount code for $50 discount, and the raffles will be happening this month, next month, and in March. So if you're interested, I believe I sent it in an email to all you folks. So check that out. I'll probably send reminders on that. That's right. You won one of the tickets, I think, right? Yeah. That's yes, absolutely. I need to try to get out there. So that's in April. All right, for us, next month we have Reza Rahman talking about the Jakarta Agentic AI specification. This is brand new. It had a creation review back in November. This probably won't see the Jakarta EE platform anytime soon because it is a brand new spec and a lot of work needs to be done on it. So Jakarta EE11 has been out since June. They're hoping to have 12 out by June of this year. So maybe Jakarta EE13 or 14. So, but actually you guys didn't know it, but we had some input on the specification description. For that we supported the creation of this, and it the steering committee had passed its creation review back in November. So that's on February 10th. A week later, as I mentioned earlier, we will celebrate our 25 years in doing this. And when I started this back in 2001, little did I realize that I'd be here 25 years later with less hair and not as brown anymore. But yeah, so we were looking forward to that. And like I said, Venkat and Char will be here. We're trying to have some maybe other special guests join us via Zoom. So I don't want to make any promises or name drop anything, but we've been working on that. Oh yeah, and then in March, Victor Gomoff, who visited with us back in 2017, and he brought his own video recording equipment. So we were still back at the Scotch Plains Rescue Squad, and that video still exists. It's on our resources page of the website. So he's going to talk about what's called the missing protocol, how MCP bridges LLMs and data streams. So stay tuned for that. I know we have some ideas for the following months, and so stay tuned. Once we know, you will know. Okay, what are our friends doing? We have lots of friends, right? It's cool. So of course, we have New York, we have Kansas City, Central Iowa. Can't forget Philly. So Kansas City is also meeting tonight. So they're an hour behind us. So, and then let's see. And Central Iowa is meeting on Thursday, so you can see the talk right there. And then the Atlanta folks have Neil Ford. Now there's a guy we need to get here. So if you've ever seen Neil talk, all right, he will have a word or a phrase on his slide and then talk about it for like 10 minutes. That's how you give presentations. Yeah. So
He does an excellent job.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's been quite some time since I last saw him, but I don't know if he lives out there or not. I'm not sure. He works for ThoughtWorks, like with Martin Fowler too. So, but yeah. But anyway, yeah, I guess he'll be there in person. So as far as I know, I can reach out to Vince or Pratik and find out. So that's, yes, on the meetup pages right there on the links. So you can check that out. I don't know, Atlanta doesn't, I don't think they live stream. So
They don't live stream.
I think they told us that one
I don't
time.
know if they. I don't know if they record and post.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll
but they
have to find-
definitely don't live stream.
Yeah, so we'll have to find that out. So the Chicago folks, they have Billy Corando on the 29th to talk about Java, N and beyond. So this will be, I guess, Java 26 and beyond. So, you know, Billy is known for doing those particular talks. Oh, and these are just placeholders. So New York, I asked Barry if New York's doing anything. Connecticut's not doing anything at the moment, at least as of today. So, and then so is Philly and Boston. So, let's see, what else? Oh, 2025 IntelliJ Idea winners. You can see the list right there. Finally had a chance to catch up on all that. And so, of course, you know, I'll run my random number generator probably the next day or two. There are QR codes. Please sign in. Even if you don't want a copy of IntelliJ Idea, we have been using this for attendance as well, so we appreciate you just entering your name and email address. You don't have to be on our mailing list if you don't want. So yeah, so that's what we've been doing. So we'll obviously continue that this year. Let's see. Oh, we have some resources. So on the website, I've been meaning to put a little link for these slides, but it is just gsjug.org/reveal.js. You can have access to these slides. So these are all just resources. This one's about Payara Cube, the user group spotlights last year, and Jakarta EE12 and so on. Oops. Oh yeah. So hello. There we go. All right. So yeah, so there's the QR code. It's the same one that's on the chairs out there. Please sign in. We appreciate it. I don't know if there's any pizza left, but if so, then yes, please finish it up. There's maybe some soda out there. And like I said, our next meeting is on February 10th. Let's hope that our streak of good weather will continue. But in case of inclement weather, we can always put this online last minute. So yeah.
You got to show the last
Oh, of
slide.
course, yeah. I'm just giving folks a chance to. Yeah, that's why you're making all these hands.
Well, I thought you were going to wrap up without it.
No,
That wouldn't be any
come
good.
on now. It should not. So, folks, thanks for your support last year and the last few years, and continued support. This wouldn't all be possible with the leadership team. Barry Elok is new to our leadership team. I see him back there. Diane, of course. Diane was an advisor, and now she's on the leadership team, so we appreciate your help with that. And everybody else, Neha, Paul, who am I missing? Scott. So, for me personally, since I kicked this thing off at, back in 2001, to see this have grown over the past 25 years is really, I don't know, it's really, really
Many things
special
have
for me.
grown over the past 25
Well,
years.
yeah, so except my hair. So that has not grown, but it's gone the opposite direction. But yeah, so thanks again, and safe travels home, and we'll see you next week. Wait,
come on.
thank you. There it is.
Don't disappoint me, Mike. All right, you got to say the closing line again. We'll start. Thank you. See
Yes.
you. Bye.
So
1, 2, 3. Go ahead.
you're making me laugh. I can't do it. So all right. So safe travels home, and we'll see you on February 10th. Hopefully, we'll be in person. We're still winter time here, even though it's been milder this past week. I'm not complaining, but so hope it stays that way. So thank you very much.